planet of Vera, 9 stretched across the horizon like a frozen jewel, its surface shimmering with icy blue plains that reflected the pale light of its distant sun. The air was thin and crisp, biting at anyone who dared step out without protective gear. Yet within the heart of this cold world stood the grand chambers of the Xylar Council, a race of tall, elegant aliens whose survival depended not only on skill and intelligence, but also on strict social order. Among their people, the matter of choosing a mate was not a question of affection, but of duty. Those who failed to comply were exiled to the wastelands beyond the city's protective domes, places where survival was impossible. Lyra, daughter of one of the council's high-ranking members, walked through the crystalline corridors with her head held high, yet her heart weighed heavy with unease. Her pale, almost translucent skin gleamed faintly in the soft light of the chamber, and her silver eyes scanned the intricate patterns on the walls, a distraction from the growing dread in her chest. She had always been different, brilliant, curious, and unafraid to question authority. She often found herself isolated from her peers. Yet now, her independence had become a threat to the rigid rules of her world. The council had summoned her to discuss her fate. She had refused the mate assigned to her, a choice that left her with little time before exile would be decreed. Her father had tried to intervene, but even his influence could not protect her from the council's strict codes. Lyra knew that if she did not act, her life would end in the harsh wastelands. She was clever, resourceful, and determined, but the rules of her society were absolute, leaving her with few options.
Beyond the council chambers, the arrival of humans had created a quiet stir.
The emissaries from Earth were unlike any beings the Xylar had ever encountered, shorter in stature but dense with resilience and adaptability. They carried no grand titles or artificial airs of superiority, yet their eyes reflected a sharp intelligence that demanded recognition. Commander Jace, the human leader, had been assigned to observe the council's proceedings, but his curiosity was immediately piqued by Lyra. She moved with a quiet grace, her confidence tempered by the knowledge that her time was limited, and yet there was something about her defiance that mirrored humanity's own drive to survive and flourish. Jace had learned early in his career that humans had succeeded in countless harsh environments across their own world by relying not on rigid hierarchies, but on ingenuity, cooperation, and courage. He saw those same qualities flicker in Lyra's gaze, a spark of determination that refused to be snuffed out, no matter how dire the circumstances. He made a quiet note to himself. This one was different, and her choices could have consequences far beyond her own life. The council chamber was a place of imposing authority. Towers of shimmering crystal rose from the floor, their surfaces engraved with the history of Xylar society. The elders sat in solemn formation, their long arms folded, their eyes glinting with the cold logic that had preserved their people for centuries. The air was heavy with expectation as Lyra entered, her boots clicking softly against the polished floor. She could feel the weight of every gaze upon her, the silent demand for obedience. Yet even as her pulse quickened, she refused to show fear.
Lyra, one of the counselors spoke, his voice low and precise. You have been given a mate. You have refused.
Your time to comply is nearing its end. The council must act. His words were formal, but behind them was a sharp edge, a reminder of the consequences that awaited her. Exile was not a threat. It was a certainty for those who disobeyed. The wastelands claimed all who were sent there. Lyra met his gaze steadily. I am aware of the consequences, she said. Her voice was calm, yet carried the weight of her conviction. But I cannot accept a bond chosen for me by the council. My life and my choices are my own. Some counselors nodded slightly, acknowledging her courage, while others scowled, their expressions hardening. Defiance was tolerated in theory, but punished in practice. Lyra knew that her words had marked her as a rebel, a threat to the established order.
Yet the thought of submission was worse than the chill of the wastelands.
Jace observed quietly from the back of the chamber, noting her composure. There was a certain fire in her stance, an unwillingness to be dictated by rules that made no sense in the context of her talents. He understood that humans often faced similar situations, societies that demanded conformity at the cost of personal growth.
What he did not know was how far Lyra was willing to go to preserve her freedom and whether he could help her without endangering himself or his mission.
The council deliberated in silence for several long minutes, their crystalline forms catching the light in shifting patterns that made them appear almost otherworldly.
Then the head elder spoke, his voice carrying a weight that made the room fall silent.
You have until the next cycle to accept your assigned mate. Failure to comply will result in immediate exile. No exceptions. Lyra bowed her head slightly, acknowledging the decree without submission. She left the chamber, her mind racing. The corridors felt narrower, more confining, as if the walls themselves were aware of her impending fate. Outside, the wind howled across the icy plains, a sound that had always seemed distant and harmless, but now carried a tone of foreboding. She had little time, and yet the arrival of the humans offered a glimmer of hope she had not anticipated. Jace approached her cautiously, maintaining a respectful distance. "Lyra," he said softly, his voice carrying an unfamiliar warmth.
"I know you face a difficult choice,
but there may be another way." Lyra turned to face him, her silver eyes narrowing slightly.
Another way? The council has made it clear.
There is no alternative. Perhaps not by their rules, Jace replied.
But humanity has survived, because we do not always follow the rules. We find solutions where others see none.
I want to help you.
She studied him carefully. Humans were unpredictable, often reckless, yet their ingenuity was undeniable. "And why would you care about my fate?" she asked. Jace shrugged. "Because sometimes helping someone brave enough to challenge the impossible is worth the risk, and because I see in you a strength that reminds me of what makes humans human." A flicker of hope stirred within Lyra. For the first time, she considered that perhaps she was not entirely powerless, that there might be a path forward she had not yet imagined. The idea of relying on an alien she barely knew was daunting, yet the alternative, certain death in the wastelands, was far worse. Over the following hours, they met in secret, discussing strategies and possibilities. Lyra shared what she knew of Xylar technology, defense systems, and council procedures. Jace offered insights into human tactics and adaptability. They worked together quietly, forming a bond built on trust and shared purpose. Lyra began to see that she was not alone, that her intelligence and courage could be matched with Jace's ingenuity to create a plan that might change the course of her life. Meanwhile, the council continued to prepare for the formal mate selection, unaware of the quiet alliance forming in the shadows. Lyra knew that discovery could mean immediate punishment, yet each moment spent planning brought a sense of empowerment she had never felt. She began to imagine a future where she could choose her own path, rather than being forced into one dictated by fear and tradition. As the cycle neared its end, the tension in the city grew palpable. Citizens whispered in hushed tones about Lyra's defiance, while council enforcers patrolled the corridors with meticulous precision. The humans watched from their secure quarters, ready to intervene if necessary, but careful not to provoke the Xylar unnecessarily.
The stakes were higher than either Lyra or Jace had anticipated, yet neither wavered.
On the eve of the decision, Lyra stood atop the highest observation platform, looking out over the icy plains. The wind tore at her hair and chilled her to the bone, yet she felt alive in a way she had never experienced before. The human's arrival had opened a door she thought was forever closed, and for the first time, she truly believed in the possibility of choice. Jace joined her silently, standing beside her without a word. Together they watched the horizon, a shared understanding passing between them. Whatever the council decreed the next day, they had each other, and they had a plan. Lyra's heart, once heavy with fear, now carried the first glimmers of hope, courage, and determination. The frozen world of Vera, 9, harsh and unyielding, had become the stage for a story of defiance, alliance, and the enduring strength of the human spirit. As dawn approached, the first signs of light touched the icy plains, casting long shadows across the crystal towers. Lyra knew that the coming hours would decide her fate. She could no longer hide, could no longer delay. Yet, she no longer felt helpless. With Jace at her side, she would face the Council, not as a frightened alien girl bound by their rules, but as a being capable of shaping her own destiny. The cycle had begun, and with it the countdown to a choice that would alter the course of two species forever. Lyra inhaled deeply, feeling the crisp, cold air fill her lungs, and for the first time, she smiled. She was ready. The morning light spread slowly across the icy plains of Veira. 9, reflecting off the crystal towers of the Council, with the brilliance that almost blinded the eyes. Within the heart of the city, tension thrummed like a living pulse. Lyra moved through the halls with calm determination, yet every step carried weight. Today was the day her fate would be publicly decided, the day when the Council expected her to accept the mate chosen for her. She could not afford hesitation or fear. Jace had spent the night working with her, reviewing the Council's procedures and identifying weaknesses in the rigid system that governed her world. Humanity's strength lay in adaptability, he had explained, in seeing possibilities where others saw barriers. Lyra, though initially skeptical, began to grasp the potential. For the first time, the rules that had constrained her existence seemed flexible when combined with a clever strategy and bold action. Together, they had devised a plan that required precision, courage, and timing. Lyra would use her technical knowledge to manipulate a demonstration of Xylar technology, proving her value and capability while simultaneously creating a situation that forced the Council to consider an alternative path. Jace would act as both observer and support, ensuring that her actions did not end in immediate punishment. Their alliance was delicate, fragile, yet it carried hope for both of them. The Council chamber filled slowly as the Xylar citizens gathered to witness the selection. The air was thick with anticipation. Every eye turned toward the central platform where the announcement would occur. Lyra's heart beat steadily, but not with fear. Each pulse was a reminder of her resolve, of the strength that had brought her this far. She had trained her mind for this moment, rehearsed every detail, and considered every possible outcome. The human's arrival had expanded her options beyond anything she had imagined. When the Council's head elder rose to speak, silence fell over the room like a heavy veil. His voice echoed through the chamber, resonant and commanding.
Lyra of House Veira, you have defied the Council's mandate.
The time has come to accept your assigned mate, or face exile beyond the protective domes. His words carried the finality of law, a statement designed to leave no room for hesitation. Lyra stepped forward, her posture straight and confident. She addressed the Council without lowering her gaze. I acknowledge the Council's mandate, she said, but I seek an alternative path, one that ensures the survival and progress of our people without requiring blind submission to outdated rules. Her words caused a stir among the observers. Murmurs spread through the crowd as some counselors exchanged wary glances, their strict adherence to tradition challenged in a way they had not anticipated. From the back of the chamber, Jace watched intently. He had instructed Lyra to remain calm, to speak clearly, and to demonstrate her value through action. Words alone would not sway the Council. She needed evidence. Lyra moved to a console beside the central platform, her fingers dancing across the controls. She activated a piece of Xylar technology designed for energy distribution, carefully adjusting the parameters to create a controlled demonstration of power. The device hummed and pulsed, light flowing through the crystalline components with dazzling brilliance. The Council watched, initially with suspicion, then with growing curiosity, as Lyra manipulated the system with precision. She highlighted the device's potential for improving planetary defense, resource management, and environmental control, emphasizing that her knowledge and initiative could greatly benefit Xylar society. A counselor in the front row leaned forward, skepticism etched into his face.
And you believe this demonstration excuses your refusal to accept a mate?
He asked sharply. Lyra did not flinch. I do not seek to excuse defiance, she replied. I seek to offer a solution that strengthens our people. Submission without choice ensures survival in the short term, but it does not secure progress or adaptability. My actions demonstrate capability, responsibility, and the potential to create alliances that benefit all. The murmurs grew louder. Some counselors whispered among themselves, clearly impressed by her composure and intelligence. Others scowled, unwilling to entertain the notion that rules could be challenged. The tension was palpable, a taut thread that could snap at any moment. Jace noted the reactions carefully. Timing was critical. When the device reached the peak of its demonstration, he subtly signaled to Lyra. She understood instantly. With a final adjustment, she redirected a beam of energy to activate a protective barrier around the platform. The barrier shimmered, encasing the demonstration in a glowing dome of light. No harm would come to anyone, but the visual effect was undeniable. Lyra had taken control of a powerful tool in a way that no counselor could ignore. The chamber fell silent, every gaze fixed on the shimmering dome. Lyra stepped back, letting the technology speak for her. The head elder's eyes narrowed, a mixture of surprise and irritation crossing his face. This is unprecedented, he said quietly.
It is possible because rules can be applied with understanding, Lyra responded. Rigid obedience limits potential.
Strategic choice and cooperation expanded. Jace felt a surge of pride. She was executing the plan flawlessly, her courage matching her intellect. The human's perspective had allowed her to see beyond the council's limitations, but it was her own bravery that commanded attention. A younger counselor stood abruptly.
She manipulates our technology with skill, he said. And she demonstrates foresight. Perhaps her choice should be considered.
His words were cautious, but they planted a seed of possibility. Lyra's gaze swept across the chamber. She saw hope in the eyes of some citizens, uncertainty in others, and outright resistance in a few. The council was divided, a rare occurrence in a society built on absolute compliance. She knew that the outcome would depend on the next moves, on her ability to maintain composure while presenting the human's perspective as a viable option.
Commander Jace, the head elder said, addressing the human from across the chamber. You observe, yet you interfere. Explain your presence and intentions.
Jace stepped forward, his tone calm but firm. I do not interfere with Xylar law. I observe and offer a perspective. Humanity thrives because we value ingenuity, choice, and collaboration. Lyra embodies those qualities. Her actions demonstrate potential that should not be ignored. We offer partnership, not dominance, a model that strengthens both our peoples. The council reacted immediately, some with shock, others with intrigue. Few had ever heard an outsider speak with such authority, articulating concepts beyond rigid rule. Lyra's choice had become a catalyst, forcing the council to consider a new path. The following hours were a tense blur. Lyra and Jace worked together, presenting her proposal, a cooperative initiative between humans and Xylars, highlighting her own talents and the benefits of mutual support. She emphasized that this alliance would secure planetary defenses, enhance technology, and allow for a future where both species could thrive without strict control over individual choice. Opposition remained fierce. Some counselors demanded immediate punishment for defiance, citing tradition and precedent. Others cautiously considered the potential advantages of her plan. Lyra spoke calmly, refusing to yield to fear, each word a testament to her resolve. The human's perspective had emboldened her, giving her clarity and focus she had never felt before. Citizens watched from balconies above, whispering among themselves. Many admired Lyra's courage, recognizing the brilliance in her strategy. The human's presence added weight to her arguments, a living example of what cooperation and adaptability could achieve. Finally, after hours of deliberation, the head elder spoke again.
The council is divided. Lyra, your proposal challenges our tradition, yet it demonstrates insight and foresight.
We cannot ignore it. A vote will determine your fate. The chamber fell silent as the vote commenced. Lyra held her breath, every instinct honed from years of study and preparation. Jace stood behind her, silent support, his hand lightly brushing against the console in reassurance. When the final tally was revealed, a murmur spread through the chamber. A majority had voted to consider her proposal, allowing her to present a formal plan for human-Xylar collaboration. Lyra felt a surge of relief, tempered by the knowledge that the Council's approval was provisional, contingent on her ability to follow through. She was not yet safe, but the path forward had been opened. Later, away from the Council chambers, Lyra and Jace reviewed the events of the day. "You were remarkable," Jace said quietly, admiration clear in his voice. "You faced a system designed to break you, and turned it to your advantage." Lyra shook her head slightly. "I could not have done it alone. Your perspective showed me possibilities I had not considered. I still face challenges, but now I have a chance." Jace nodded. "We will face them together. Humanity has always found a way when odds are against us. Now, you have that same determination, and a choice to shape your future." As the sun dipped behind the frozen plains, casting long shadows across the city, Lyra felt the first true sense of freedom she had ever known. The Council's rules still loomed over her, but she had demonstrated that intelligence, courage, and collaboration could create alternatives. She was no longer a passive subject of fate. She had agency, strategy, and the support of a human ally who respected her decisions. The icy wind swept across the towers, carrying with it a promise of change. Lyra understood that the next steps would require even greater courage, careful planning, and unwavering resolve. The human perspective had expanded her world, offering tools and ideas she had never imagined. The journey was far from over, yet the first victory had been claimed not through brute force, but through strategy, intelligence, and the refusal to accept a predetermined destiny. For Lyra, the day had proven that a single choice could ripple outward, challenging centuries of tradition and opening the door to possibilities beyond imagination. She looked toward the horizon, her mind already forming plans, strategies, and contingencies. With Jace by her side, she would navigate the Council's demands, secure her future, and demonstrate that human ingenuity and determination were forces even the most rigid systems could not ignore. The frozen world of Vera 9 had tested her courage, her intellect, and her resolve, and she had passed. The humans had shown her a path, but it was her bravery and skill that had allowed her to step onto it. The coming days would bring trials, confrontations, and difficult choices. Yet Lyra knew she could face them, not as a pawn of the Council, but as a strategist, an innovator, and a force capable of shaping the destiny of two species. As the night settled over the icy plains, Lyra felt a quiet thrill of possibility. For the first time, she was not merely surviving. She was leading, creating, and defining her own fate. Tomorrow would bring new challenges, but she would meet them with courage, intelligence, and the unyielding human spirit she had learned to embrace. The morning sun spilled over the icy plains of Vera 9, casting long glimmers across the crystal towers and frozen landscapes. For Lyra, this day was unlike any other. The Council had allowed her the opportunity to present a formal plan for human-Xylar collaboration, but the challenge before her was immense. Approval from a divided Council was not guaranteed, and failure could mean exile to the wastelands, the unforgiving frozen stretches where no being survived for long. Every step she took toward the Council chambers carried the weight of centuries of tradition, the judgment of her people, and the hope that humanity could bring a new way of thinking to her world. Jace walked beside her, human boots crunching against the ice-coated floor, eyes alert to every guard, every counselor, every citizen observing from the balconies above. He had accompanied her in secrecy before, But today the entire assembly would witness their partnership. He did not interfere. His role was to support and guide, to provide insight into strategies and possibilities that Xylar tradition could not anticipate. Lyra needed this victory to be entirely hers. Her intelligence, her courage, and her ability to persuade were the keys to survival and progress. The chamber was filled with murmurs as Lyra entered. Citizens whispered, some hopeful, some skeptical, and a few openly critical. The council members took their positions, their elongated forms gleaming in the light, eyes fixed on her with a mix of curiosity and thinly veiled impatience. Lyra's heart beat steadily, not with fear, but with determination. She had prepared for this moment, rehearsed her words, visualized her actions, and aligned her strategy with Jace's guidance. She would need every ounce of courage to convince them. The head elder's voice rang through the chamber, deep and commanding. Lyra of House Vera, you have been granted a rare opportunity to present an alternative to your assigned mate. Speak, and the council will listen. Choose wisely, for your words may determine your fate. Lyra took a deep breath, her silver eyes sweeping across the room.
Esteemed councillors, citizens of Vera.
9. I stand before you today not merely as a daughter of our people, but as someone who believes in the strength, resilience, and potential of our species. The council has always guided us, but tradition alone cannot secure the future. I offer an alternative, one that preserves our society while embracing possibilities beyond our current understanding. A murmur ran through the chamber. The council had anticipated defiance, but this articulate appeal to reason and foresight caused unease. Lyra continued, stepping toward the console, where the Xylar energy matrix pulsed with quiet potential. I have worked with an emissary from the humans, a species that thrives across harsh environments not because of strict hierarchy, but because of adaptability, cooperation, and ingenuity. By combining our strengths with theirs, we can ensure the survival and prosperity of Vera 9 without resorting to blind obedience or exile. A counselor's voice cut sharply across the chamber.
You suggest alliance with an outsider? This risks contamination of our ways.
Our traditions protect our species. How can you claim that their methods benefit us? Lyra met his gaze steadily. Because innovation requires new perspectives, the humans offer solutions where we see barriers, strategies where we see limitations. My plan does not erase our traditions, it strengthens them by providing tools to secure the future. We can retain our values while expanding our capabilities. Jace subtly nodded to her. Timing was critical. Lyra activated a projection above the console, displaying the human technology combined with Xylar systems. Patterns of energy, defensive grids, and environmental controls floated in holographic brilliance. Citizens gasped at the visual display. Never before had anyone seen such integration. The council's engineers leaned forward, studying the diagrams, murmuring among themselves as the implications became clear. The head elder's expression remained stern. Impressive, he said carefully.
But can this alliance survive our scrutiny? Can your plan withstand the unpredictability of human involvement?
Yes, Lyra replied, because our collaboration is based on respect, adaptability, and understanding. Humans do not impose. They cooperate. Their ingenuity complements our strengths. Together we create solutions that neither species could achieve alone. I am prepared to lead this initiative, to demonstrate its value, and to ensure that Vera 9 thrives. The council members exchanged glances. A younger counselor raised his voice, hesitant but intrigued. If her proposal succeeds, the benefits could be immense. Defensive capabilities, environmental stability, technological advancement. Yet, this is untested.
Failure could imperil us. Lyra responded with calm authority.
All progress carries risk, but the risk of stagnation, of remaining confined by outdated mandates, is far greater. If we refuse to innovate, we may survive in the short term, but we will falter in the long term. My plan offers controlled experimentation with oversight, ensuring safety while opening new avenues for prosperity. Citizens watched intently, many whispering in agreement. For the first time, it seemed that the council's rigid structure might bend under reasoned argument and clear demonstration. Lyra's voice rang through the chamber, steady, confident, and filled with the unshakable conviction of someone who had nothing to lose but everything to gain. The head elder leaned forward, voice lowering.
You ask us to consider a radical partnership, a defiance of precedent, and yet your actions demonstrate competence, foresight, and leadership. If the council allows this, you assume immense responsibility. Failure will reflect on you, not the humans. Do you accept this burden?
Lyra met his gaze without hesitation.
I do.
I accept full responsibility for the outcome. I will ensure that every step aligns with the safety, stability, and prosperity of Vera.
9. A tense silence followed. The council deliberated briefly, their whispers echoing through the chamber like soft winds over the ice. Then, the vote began. One by one, councilors voiced their decision. Some remained firm in tradition, yet many recognized the potential benefits, swayed by Lyra's intelligence and unwavering resolve. When the tally was complete, a majority had agreed to allow her initiative, contingent on immediate oversight and measurable results. Relief washed over Lyra, tempered by the knowledge that this was only the beginning. The council had granted permission, but she would need to execute her plan flawlessly to secure lasting approval. She exchanged a glance with Jace, who gave a small, encouraging nod. Together, they would navigate the complexities of interspecies collaboration. Facing technological, social, and political challenges, the following days were a whirlwind of activity. Lyra worked tirelessly, coordinating humans and Xylar engineers to integrate systems, optimize defenses, and implement environmental controls. The humans brought ingenuity and practical problem-solving skills, while Xylar knowledge provided precision and advanced energy management. Lyra's leadership became the linchpin, her decisions guiding the collaboration and preventing conflict. She encountered resistance from some counselors and citizens who distrusted the humans, fearing cultural contamination or loss of control. Lyra addressed their concerns with patience, demonstrating the tangible benefits of cooperation. She explained that the alliance did not replace Xylar values but reinforced them through practical improvements. Slowly, skepticism began to give way to cautious acceptance. Jace remained close, observing Lyra's strategies and offering advice. Their partnership deepened, built on mutual respect and shared purpose. He marveled at her ability to inspire both humans and Xylars, to navigate politics with precision, and to maintain her moral compass under intense pressure. She had not only survived the Council's challenge, but had transformed it into an opportunity for growth and progress. One evening, as the sun dipped low, painting the icy plains with shades of orange and violet, Lyra stood on a balcony overlooking the city. The wind bit at her skin, but she felt alive, invigorated by the knowledge that her choices were shaping the future. Jace joined her silently, standing close but giving her space. "You've changed more than the Council's minds," he said softly. "You've changed the way your people see possibility. This is just the beginning." Lyra smiled faintly, eyes reflecting the fading sunlight. "We've done it together. I could not have achieved this alone. Your presence, your perspective. It opened doors I thought were closed forever." They stood side by side, watching the city beneath them. The once rigid society was beginning to adapt, to recognize the value of collaboration beyond tradition. Lyra felt the thrill of possibility coursing through her veins. The first taste of freedom, not just for herself, but for her people. The next weeks were filled with testing and refinement. Lyra oversaw the integration of human and Xylar systems, ensuring that every modification preserved safety while enhancing efficiency. Training programs were established to teach citizens how to operate the new technologies, fostering understanding and reducing fear. Resistance remained, but with each success, more individuals began to embrace the changes. As the first functional human Xylar systems came online, the Council observed the results with cautious optimism. Energy grids stabilized, environmental controls improved living conditions, and defensive measures were enhanced. Lyra's plan was succeeding, not just theoretically, but in practice. The Council's approval became more secure, and the citizens' confidence grew. Amid these successes, Lyra and Jace forged a bond that went beyond strategy. Trust and respect deepened into a quiet connection, a shared understanding of courage, responsibility, and the value of choice. They communicated not only with words but through gestures, decisions, and the knowledge that each would protect and support the other in the challenges to come. Finally, the Council convened to formalize the human-Xylar partnership. Lyra stood before them, no longer a girl facing exile, but a leader who had demonstrated skill, vision, and unwavering courage. The head elder spoke first, voice carrying both respect and acknowledgement of her achievements. Lyra of House Vera has proven that intelligence, courage, and collaboration can overcome even the strictest tradition. By her actions, she has secured the future of our people and shown the value of interspecies partnership. We recognize her authority to lead this initiative. A wave of relief and pride washed over Lyra. She had faced the Council, confronted the rigid rules of her world, and carved a path toward a future of possibility. She had demonstrated that human qualities, resilience, ingenuity, adaptability, could enhance rather than threaten Xylar society. And in doing so, she had claimed her right to choose, her right to lead, and her right to exist on her own terms. As the council chambers emptied and citizens celebrated the new era, Lyra found Jace waiting for her outside. He extended his hand, a simple gesture of partnership, respect, and shared achievement. Lyra accepted, not as a forced bond, but as a symbol of trust and alliance between two species, two cultures, and two individuals who had proven that courage and intelligence could change destiny itself. The sun set over the frozen plains of Vera, 9, painting the city in hues of gold and crimson. Lyra and Jace stood together, gazing at the horizon. The challenges ahead were many: technology integration, cultural exchange, and maintaining the delicate balance of trust. But they faced them with confidence, courage, and the knowledge that humanity's determination, combined with Lyra's vision, could achieve what once seemed impossible. For Lyra, the journey had transformed her from a frightened girl facing exile into a leader capable of shaping the destiny of two worlds. She had embraced choice, collaboration, and innovation, demonstrating that even in the harshest, most rigid societies, courage and intelligence could open doors to new futures. The icy winds of Vera, 9, no longer felt like threats but like heralds of a new era, a future she would help build, not by submission, but by the power of her mind, her courage, and the human spirit she had come to understand. And so, on that frozen world, amid crystal towers and endless ice, a human and a Xylar stood side by side, proving that alliance, trust, and bravery could transcend tradition, transform society, and create a future filled with hope, possibility, and unyielding strength.